All right, boys and girls, our first problem is this one. 465 divided by 3 equals, we don't know what it equals yet. We're going to solve this. So we again are using our old school method. Now the good news for you is your problem is already set up on your chart. I am going to set mine up on my chart. Right outside, this is where my divisor goes. I'm trying to see how many times does 3 go into 465. And then inside of my little bracket, this is where my dividend, that's my large number, this is where the dividend goes in. Okay, the first step when I get ready to do a long division problem is I want to list out my multiples of the divisor, which is 3. Okay, and I'm just going to list out my first 10 multiples. So I will start. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. I list out my multiples because it makes it so much easier to do the rest of the division steps. The next step, after I've listed out my multiples, is that I look at my first number in my dividend. And I'm starting from the left. The first number is a 4. Now I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 4? Now for some of us, that question doesn't really make sense. So this is another question I can ask. Which multiple of 3 is closest to 4, but it's not greater than 4? Okay, 3. I can't go past 3 because 6 is greater than 4. So therefore 3 would be my closest multiple. And how do I get to 3? 3 times 1 would be 3. So I'm going to write the 1 up top. It's my first multiple. I write the 1 above my dividend, and then underneath it, I'm just going to transfer this multiple. I'm going to write the multiple right under there. Okay? Now, I used to tell my students, oh, we have a division step, then we had a multiplication step. But really, if we've listed our multiples, I'm just taking this number and I'm putting it right there. Now, the next step is an easy step. It's subtract. I'm going to subtract 4 minus 3, which equals 1. Okay. After I subtract, I get to bring down. So I'm bringing down the 6. I'm not going to bring down the 6 and the 5. In long division, we take it one digit at a time. Okay? So now I brought down my 6. Now I'm left with 16 because that 1 was left over from our hundreds place. So now I have 16, and I start my process over again. I don't have to relist my multiples because they're still here. But now I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 16? Again, if that's too hard, we can look. Which multiple of 3 is closest to 16, but it's not greater than 16? Ooh, 15. Because if I go to 18, I've passed 16. So therefore, 15 is my closest multiple. And how do I get to 15? 3 times 5. So it's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th multiple. I'll write my 5 up top here. And then underneath here, I'm just going to move this 15 right over there. So now I have 16 minus 15. I want to subtract. 16 minus 15 is simply 1. Okay, I bring down my 5. And now I'm looking, starting the process over. I ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 15? Or, which multiple of 3 is closest to 15 without being more? You're yelling at me. You're saying it's right there. Because it is. So 15 is the closest multiple. And so I'd write 15 under here. I would write the 5 up top because how do I get to 15? 3 times 5. Okay, now I subtract. 15 minus 15 is 0. Oh, look. I have nothing left to bring down, and I'm at 0, so this tells me I am all done. Okay? Now, when I get ready to say that my answer is 155, I can check it. How can I check a division problem? Multiplication! Yes, I can multiply. 155 times 3. Now, my answer will be correct if I actually get 465 as my answer. Alright, for our next problem, we have 485 divided by 5. I'm going to set my problem up. Again, yours is already done. So the very first step I want to do is I want to list my multiples of 5. This is so easy. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I'm going to stop there. I could keep going on forever and ever, but I only need my first 10 multiples. So now I look at the first digit. Which multiple of 5 is closest to 4, but not greater than 4? If I go to 5, I'm past 4. So guess what? I'm going to put a 0 here. Because there is no multiple that's closest to 5, which is not greater than 4. And so I'm going to put a 0 down here because 5 times 0 is 0. Okay? And I now subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. And then I bring down my 8. Now I start over. I now have 48. How many times does 5 go into 48? Or which multiple of 5 is closest to 48 without being greater? Let's come back here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Can't go to 50, so it is 45. I can put my 45 here, and 5 times 9 equals 45, so my 9 goes up top. Now I'm going to subtract. 48 minus 45. That is simply 3. Now, I bring down my next digit. Now I have 35. I ask myself, how many times does 5 go into 35? Or, which multiple of 5 is closest to 35, but it's not greater than 35? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Ooh, look. 35 is actually a multiple. And 5 times 7 equals 35, so I can put my 7 up here, and my 35 comes right over here. Now I subtract. 35 minus 35 equals 0. All right, I have nothing left over, and there's nothing more to bring down. So, I am all done. My answer to this problem is 97. I could check this by multiplying 97 times 5, and I expect that I'm going to get 485. For our third problem, we have 314 divided by 2. I'm putting my divisor on the outside of my bracket and my dividend inside. So, I look at my, we're going to let me keep going without listing my multiples. Okay, let me list my multiples. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. All right, next thing I do, I look at my first digit in my dividend, okay, starting from my largest place value. So how many times does 2 go into 3? Or which multiple of 2 is closest to 3 but not greater than 3? And it is 2. So the very first multiple, I can write my 1 up top, and then my multiple goes right underneath. Now I subtract. 3 minus 2. I was almost about to add, you guys. Have to remind myself, subtract, subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. Now I bring down my 1, and now I'm seeing how many times does 2 go into 11? Which multiple of 2 is closest to 11, but it's not greater than 11? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I can't go to 12 because that's greater than 11, so it'd be the 10. I'm going to be able to write my 10 underneath, and what I'm putting up here is 2 times what equals 10? 5. I'm putting the 5 up top because that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th multiple, and I'm putting 10 underneath. Now I subtract. 11 minus 10 equals 1. Okay? Wonder, do you know what we do next? Did somebody say bring down? If you did, you're exactly right. I bring down my 4. Okay, and now I look at the 14. Which multiple of 2 is closest to 14 but not greater than 14? Oh, look, 14 is right here. And 7 times 2 is 14, so I put my 7 there. I put my 14 underneath, and now I subtract this. 14 minus 14 is 0. Okay, so Now I have nothing left to bring down, and I have nothing left over. That 0 means I have nothing left over. So my answer is 157. Okay? So 314 divided by 2 would be 157. Boys and girls, in this video today we discussed the steps to doing long division. I have this chart that is going to be on display in the classroom. These are the steps that we do with long division. We first list our multiples of our divisor. That's the number on the left side of our little bracket. Then the next step is that we ask ourselves, how many times does our divisor go into the first digit of the dividend? So if I'm looking at this problem, how many times does 4 go into just that 6? Okay, now for some of us that question is a little bit confusing, so we can ask ourselves which multiple of our divisor is closest to or equal to, but not more than the digit, okay? Then we're going to write the multiple under the digit in the dividend and the number of the multiple above the dividend in the quotient area. So remember, 4 times 1 equals 4, so I put the 1 up here and the 4 down here. After that, I subtract. Easy as pie. Then I bring down the next digit in my dividend. Okay? And if I have nothing to bring down, nothing left over, then I can just stop. But if I still have something, I would bring down my digit and then start the whole process over. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to the next one.